All right. So once again, yes, thank you for coming to E3 training. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. Let's make sure that we're all on mute. Um, we're actually going to use this as a recorded training. So yeah, so let's make sure that you're on mute. Mimi, if you can manage that for me, that'll be perfect. All right, so let's dig into it. All right, so today you're going to get a preview of what you're going to see in E3. You should be getting, you should be able to get access of very shortly. So you'll have an opportunity to kind of go in there and explore. Don't worry, I don't think there's anything that you can break in E3 as far as your own personal profile. And we're actually going to encourage you to go in there and explore a little bit and double check some information to make sure that everything was implemented and transferred over correctly. We're going to primarily spend a lot of time talking about the desktop, but we are going to show you aspects of the mobile app because some functions are much easier to do from the mobile app, and we want you to get accustomed to that. All right. So as soon as you log into E3, the very first thing you're going to see are acknowledgements. Automatically, you'll have to click on and acknowledge some of these documents before E3 allows you to proceed. You see, there's a couple examples of what you may find in there. So some of your acknowledgements, it might be like an employee handbook, maybe 401k information, but just know that before you proceed, we're asking that you go ahead and view some of these documents. These are just examples, but as you see it, you'll be able to find different acknowledgements and things that we need you to check off and make sure that you received. Later on, I'm going to show you where you'll find those documents if you need to go back and pull up any information that you may have acknowledged. That way you can have a proper record with it. But the very first thing you're going to see is acknowledgements if you have them available for you. All right, so this is the acknowledgements that will appear on E3 as soon as you log in. All right. Now, the very next thing you're going to see is you're going to see the news feed. On the news feed, you'll find all types of different information. Anything that's going on in the organization, we're going to start putting it here in the news feed. If you want to know what's going on as far as employee engagement, any type of policy changes, the very first place I would go is probably the news feed because we'll most likely put it there. On the right-hand side, you'll have a couple of categories here of things that you may need to do. Let me wait until the video scrolls back. But as we scroll back up to the top, there we go. You see there's a couple of stories, some employee engagement articles, different ways that will communicate with you. And on the right-hand side, there's some administrative tasks that you may need to complete. What we're looking at is we're looking at a view of an employee that has direct reports. So of course, the right side of yours might have different things you have to do, but you see, I have a checklist for administrative tasks that need to be completed. Looks like this manager here has some things going on with new hires they need to acknowledge. There's an application for a job role that's waiting to be reviewed. But of course, as a non-exempt staff member, you may see different alerts that appear over here. But when you log in, you're going to see acknowledgements. You're going to go to your news feed. And on the right-hand side, you'll have a checklist of things that you may need to complete. All right. So these are things that we definitely want you to check out as you go into E3. Now, as we continue on, we're going to go through different functions. And the very next thing we want to show you is the organization chart. I don't know about you, but I use the organization chart all the time, because I'm trying to find where people sit or who they report to. If you click on it right here, you see you have like a little hierarchy structure there where it looks like a little pyramid of people. And then on the right-hand side, as the video will scroll back, you'll see a search field. When you initially go to the organizational chart, it's going to show your seat where you sit in the organization. But you can put in anybody's name and be able to locate them. You'll get some basic information about your peers and your team members, like, of course, their names, their official job role, if they're full-time or if they're part-time. So just a status on who they are as an employee. In the upper right-hand corner, you have different ways that you're able to view this information. Of course, it's going to default to the hierarchy view, but this is simply our organizational chart, the same one that is available in Paycom. So right there, that's where you will go. That's your organization chart. Now, where you're going to spend most of your time as an employee is right here on the My E3 page. Matter of fact, unless you have direct reports or you're an executive member, you're not going to see My Team, Admin, or Executive. Okay, so that's just my view. You'll primarily will see Home and My E3. as soon as you come to this page, you'll have a little profile picture where you'll have a little bit of information of who you are. You know who you are, but you'll have some information of who you are, your job role, how long you've been with the organization. I like seeing how long I've been. You know, it just reminds me of my anniversary date. So I like seeing this information up front compared to Paycom. Just reminds me that I have a work anniversary coming up. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the dashboard. The dashboard has a wealth of information to let you know what's going on with you. I see my latest payrolls, right? So my last two, actually, there's 3 payrolls right there. So the last 3 payrolls, just in case I might need to look at that. I see timesheets that have been submitted and approved or haven't been submitted and approved. So I might need to go in there and finish submitting my timesheets. I see my leave balances, how much vacation time I have, if I have CB sick time, California sick time, a list of my benefits, what's my life insurance, what's my medical, health, and vision, and any upcoming leave request. You know, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll put a leave request in maybe a month in advance and I'll totally forget that I requested it. So coming to my dashboard just reminds me as far as what's going on with me as an employee. So this is like a quick snapshot. You know, everybody wants to know, hey, what was my payroll? How much vacation time I got? What are my benefits? You'll get that snapshot right here on the My E3 page. Now on the left-hand side, this is, you know, I've been looking at this. This looks, I don't know, this feels familiar, this area right here. I want you to think about that. Take a look at this. What does this remind you of? What's familiar about this layout? Go into the chat and let me know. It reminds me, I don't know, I think it reminds me of another system. David, you got it, of course, Paycom, right? So if you remember, Paycom has that tile system where, you know, you got a picture, you click on it. So if it most likely has a picture that kind of aligns to what you're looking for, like for example, right? You have your compensation tab. So of course there's a stack of dollar bills. So it's just easy and it makes sense for me to click on that if I want to learn something about my compensation. I want you to understand this because I don't want you to have any fear about E3. It's very easy to navigate and there'll be some functions that you're very familiar with. All right. Okay, now let's go on to the account tab. All right. Now, when you get logged into E3, this is one of the very first places you want to go. We are going to transfer all your information over as far as all your personal information, but we want you to double check and make sure that everything was transferred correctly. You'll see there's an option for you to be notified when there's a pay stub available for you. So you'll get a notification. When do you want E3 to time out? You see right here in the example, it's set for 60 minutes. I think that's too long. I think you might set it to 10 just to make it secure. So if you walk away from it, you know that it will eventually log itself out. Do you want to receive an electronic W-2? Even if you click no, you'll be able to print out your paper W-2 on another tile, and we'll talk about that later on. That'll be available here in the W-2 tile. As you scroll down, it will have your corporate email. Of course, you won't be able to change that, but we do want you to update your personal email and make sure that that is correct. You'll just click on that field right there, put in your personal email and click on update. Double check your home address and and all that is set up correctly. And as we scroll to the bottom, you'll see that there's a field where you can put your preferred name. A lot of our employees, they go by a preferred name compared to their legal name. So you'll have an opportunity, I think it's down here, you'll have an opportunity to put your preferred name. You'll have your phone number, so make sure that that's updated, your home phone and your emergency phone number. And anything you want to correct. Right here where it says new password, we're actually going to start a single sign-on process. Ignacio, do you mind talking to us a little bit about our new single sign-on process when it comes to E3? Oh, you're on mute.
You guys keep muting me. When it's ready and you'll get a notification, your login is going to be the same login that you use for Outlook. So it's going to be your corporate email address is going to be your username, and your password is going to be the same password that you use to log into the computer as well. Okay, so that's called a single sign-on. When you change your password through our system, through IT, the way we have to every 3 months, then that password is going to change over here as well. So whatever password you're using to log into your computer is going to be the same password you use to log in over here.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ignacio. All
Mhm.
right. Okay. So that is the account tab. So remember, when you log into E3, go to the account tab and just verify that all your information is correct. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the direct deposit tab, right? You see that you got that little Coliseum right there. This is where all your direct deposit account information is going to be stored. We also want you to go over here and just make sure that the bank routing number and account number and everything is correct. If you want to change the bank account that your payroll is going to, you just simply click on this add new account and it will ask for your routing number and your account number. And that's the easiest way to verify it. Here you can add several different accounts. And depending on how you have your payroll set up, um, the primary portion of your payroll will go into a certain account, right? So if you have it set up to where dollar amounts go into your account, you want $1,000 to go here, $500 to go there. Whatever account is at the top, and as the video scrolls back around, we'll get back there. But whatever account is at the top will be the account that the biggest bulk of money is deposited into. If you have it set up by percentages, then this really doesn't matter. But as you move the accounts up and down, you can decide which account gets to your payroll first, if all that makes sense. So this is the direct deposit tab where you'll update all your bank account information and you can add new accounts as you see fit. All right. So that's direct deposit tab. Next, we have the benefits tab. You see, you have that icon of the umbrella, right? So it's showing that you're covered. You got everything. You're under the umbrella, so you're protected. I really, really like this page because up here in the upper left-hand corner, I get a breakdown of how much I pay as an employee when it comes to my benefits. I also get a breakdown by how much the company contributes to my benefits. I can see what's being contributed to my 401k or my 401(k). Let's see, looks like my life insurance, health insurance, everything. I can get a snapshot view. I like all these snapshots because sometimes we need to go and just get personal information and share it, well, probably for personal reasons. So with this, I'll be able to get a snapshot of all my benefits that I have available. In the upper right-hand corner, as we scroll back up to the top, you're going to notice that there's a drop-down menu. So you can go back and look at different periods and see what type of coverage you had during that time, right? So say maybe last year my coverage was different and I just want to review it and take a look. I'll be able to take a look by using that drop-down menu. Right here is looks like we're selecting a dependent. So we're adding a dependent to some of our benefits. And I'm gonna show you where you upload your dependent list, meaning the people that most likely you'll cover. We'll do that on a separate screen. But right here, this is your benefits tab, and it gives you a snapshot of everything that you're covered by. All right, so that's the benefits tab. So that's another place you want to visit. Just make sure everything is reflecting correctly. There we go. And there's the drop down menu where you can see the different periods of what coverage you had during those different periods. All right, and this is your dependents tab. Now, this is something that's a little bit different than what I've noticed in Paycom. With the dependents tab, when you put people in here, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're putting them on your benefits. This pretty much is a pool or a list of people that you will potentially put on your benefits. Let's say that you have some adult children and they're getting ready to age out, right? So you won't have them on your health insurance. Even though you remove them from your health insurance, they'll still be loaded here as dependents because you might want to add them as beneficiaries to your life insurance. Um, let's say that your spouse, your significant other has health insurance for your young child. Even though you don't have them covered under your plan, you'll still have them listed here because you might want to make sure they have dental coverage or vision. So this is where you will store all your dependents and you can switch them out depending on how you want your benefits set up. So if you want to add someone to your benefits, you have to start here. Most people will probably click on the benefits link, but you will go to dependents, upload the dependent, then go to benefits and pull the dependent from that pool and add them to your benefits. So this is the dependents tab. All right, so you can always go in there and double check who you have listed here. And yeah, look, if you have a new birth, you see you'll be able to upload a birth certificate or any type of documentation to verify that that dependent should be covered by you. All right, so that's the dependents tab. Very good. All right. I think we're ready for our very first poll. Trey-Jean, you go ahead and pull out our very first poll. That'll be great.
Okay, everyone. So the first question for the poll is, which option would allow you to update your information? The organization chart, my E3 page, or the account tab?
All right, off to the races. I want to get hopefully 100% participation. We got 94 people on the call. Very good. So which option would allow you to update your information? And you got a picture of the tile system there. So
Almost there. Not
mhm.
quite. Melvin, can you see the results, or do you need me to?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Very good. We're going to go ahead and we're going to end that poll. Thank you for your participation. Now, some of you said the My E3 page. It's actually the account tab, but you're partially right, because in order to get to the account tab, you got to click on My E3 and then the account tab, right? If you can navigate to My E3, you should be confident that on the left-hand side, you'll be able to kind of align the icon to what you want to do. But the correct answer is the account tab, but clicking on My E3 page will get you to the account tab. So very good, team. Very good. Oh, okay. Let's share the results. There we go. All right. So glad that no one picked the org chart. Good job. All right. Let's continue on. Let's talk about the W4 tab. All right. W4 right here at the bottom. Now, the W4 tab, of course, is where your W4 information is stored. This is another place that when you get logged into E3, you want to make sure that you go in and we got all your information correct. So make sure that your filing status is correct. If there's an additional amount that you want taken out of your payroll, make sure that you indicate that. So just go through and verify that everything is set up correctly. So all your withholdings will be set up appropriately. All right. You also get a list of other taxes that you're responsible and that are coming out of your payroll. All right. So here's some tax information, your W4 and tax tab. So that'll be right here, W4. And now let's take a look at the attendance tab, A lot more information, easier to kind of look at compared to Paycom. The very first thing I notice is these blocks of information up here, right? So I have pretty much my attendance bank, my vacation bank. Ours, of course, will say CB sick time. And then, of course, California sick time. So I get a quick snapshot of, and you notice that in a lot of different pages, you'll get a snapshot of your attendance bank or your leave request. Let's see, there's a couple of different views that we'll have. You'll have your attendance view, your balance view, so you just get a more concise view of how much leave time you have available. Any pending leave requests. What are some leave requests I have loaded on my calendar? If you're utilizing FMLA, there'll be a separate bank for that, or a separate way it's accounted for under FMLA hours. And if I want to request leave, I would simply click on this request leave button, and there's 4 steps that I will go through. Let me make sure that I go in to make sure that we see those in the video. Let me just fast forward. There we go. So let me just pause right there. All right. So there's 4 steps to request and leave. First thing is you're going to click on request leave, and then you're going to select the reason. Once again, this is an example account. So we'll have our Children's Bureau reasons why you're requesting to leave, vacation and things like that. On page number 2, let me go to page number 2. Let's press play. I'll select the dates that I want for my leave. Okay, so as we come forward, there we go. All right, so I'm selecting the dates that I want, date from, date to. On the very next slide, as we go over to step number 3, I'll put in how I want to get paid. So on this particular day, what leave bank am I using? Vacation, or is it something that I'm putting on for, I'm using wellness time? And then the fourth step, the very last step, it will give you a summary of everything that you selected, the reason you selected for your leave, the dates, and then, of course, calculating your withholdings. So how it's going to be paid out. And then from there, you just click finish. Now, one thing you're going to have to do with E3 is you make sure that you make note of the vacation days you requested in Paycom, because you're going to have to take those dates and transfer them to E3, right? So if you have any time in Paycom after July 1st schedule, take those dates, and when you come into E3, re-enter them. You won't need a second approval because you've already got them approved. So your people leader will just make sure that they'll mark them approved, so they'll reflect in E3. It may take a while for your vacation bank to reflect. I believe we need to go through 1 to 2 pay cycles in order for your vacation bank to reflect correctly. So initially when we log in, you may not see your correct bank. Is that correct, Ignacio?
That's correct. As we process our payrolls in the new system and we update the true amounts, then the true amounts will be available after 1 or 2 payroll cycles.
All right, perfect.
But it will all be there. Don't worry.
Very perfect. So when you log in, if you don't see that things don't look right, don't get scared. Give it about 1 to 2 payrolls, and then everything will update and be perfectly fine. All right. And this, once again, just another example of your leave request. All right. So you notice with this, there we go. There's the balances. All right. So there's just a different view of the information that you have up here. Which I noticed is E3, it gives you like 2 or 3 versions of the same information, and sometimes on different tabs. So so visually, it's like you're getting notified of a lot of different things that are going on. There we go. And here's the leave request tab. So you can actually go back and see if there's been any vacations that were approved or denied for some reason. There we go. So that's your leave request. And there's a view of your FMLA hours if you were utilizing that. All right, so that's the attendance tab. All right, compensation. So this is a compensation tab. I kind of hinted towards this earlier. You see the little stack of dollars right there. I love this because there's always times where you need to verify your income. And this right here is just like the perfect screenshot. It lets you know what you earn annually, what's the breakdown for your pay hourly, weekly. There's another example of your base pay. Are there any credentials or skill differentials? So, for example, if you're getting paid because you have a certain skill, say you're bilingual, all that will reflect right here. Any special pay rates. And then, of course, at the bottom, as we scroll down, let me just get down to the bottom, you'll have compensation history. So you'll be able to go back in the past and be able to see how your compensation has increased over the years. So this is perfect. Like I said, it's a perfect screenshot for when you may be applying for some personal things, maybe a loan or new a new piece of property or new rental property. So you would just come here and just screenshot this. So this is your compensation tab. Ignacio, did you want to add something there?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, perfect. So compensation tab. Now this is this right here is the company property tab. You can see it has a little circle with some keys. We're not going to initially roll this out, but this is the way we'll be able to keep track of any company assets. So if we all have a laptop assigned to us, so you'll see your laptop here with the serial number and information about your laptop. If you have a company phone, you'll see that information here. Some of us have keys because our job role requires us to have access to probably storage rooms or the offices. So we'll know exactly where those keys are. And then, of course, some of us have expense accounts. So your credit card will be listed here. So not initially rolled out, but in the future, as we go through waves and we start implementing more functions of E3, you'll see that we'll use the company property. So we'll know, pretty much where all our assets are. That just forces us to be a little bit more accountable for the assets that we're holding on to. So that's the company property tab right there. Credentials. Your credentials tab is right here where you see this little graduation scroll. As you scroll down, you see this example employee has a few certifications, some credentials that we need to keep a record of. Looks like their driver's license is missing, so we might need to update that information. Any degrees that's associated with your job role, all that you will find here, you want to make sure that that's updated too. So that's the credentials and the education tab. What you really should do when you get into E3, man, just explore. Go through all these tabs and just see what information you can see and find out. So this is the credentials tab. Okay, documents. So remember earlier we talked about acknowledgements, and we also talked about adding on dependents, and you might need to upload a birth certificate or things like that. Anything that you acknowledge or that is uploaded to E3, you'll be able to find under the Documents tab. So there'll be a history of those documents. You can easily click on them and be able to download them again. I love this. It just seems easy to find. And I like the way that it categorizes. You have your acknowledgements, you have the things that you're required to acknowledge. And then here you see an example where you can click on that link again and you'll be able to download that document if need be. So everything that's entered, one thing I would do, because our performance reviews are not going to transfer. So I would go into Paycom. I would print out my last 2 or 3 performance reviews or my goals, and I would upload them here. So I have a record of it. Right. So I would definitely suggest that. So make sure that you download any recent performance reviews with goals on it. So you'll be able to keep track of that. Okay. So this is our documents tab. Now, performance tab, we just recently did performance reviews, so we won't be visiting this for quite some time. And of course, we'll most likely do another training when we get to that time, but this is where you'll find any type of performance information about yourself. So if there's any performance reviews, appraisal reviews, all of that will be stored here. Plus, if you set any goals for yourself, and once again, I would definitely encourage any goals you created in Paycom to transfer them over here. So this is your performance tab. You see, we get a breakdown of what Susie is doing. You see that she has a goal that's set right here. All right, so you can re-enter your goals. All right, and looks like there might even be room here for like monthly one-on-one. So we'll see that in the future. This is the performance tab. All right, and right above the W4 tab is our W2 tab. This is something else that you may want to print out. So you want to go in Paycom and print out any W-2s that you may want. I would strongly suggest you always keep at least 5 years worth. But for future W-2s that will be rolling out, they'll be stored here. Even if you select electronic, you'll be able to come in here, view it, and download it and print it out if you wanted a physical copy. So this is your W-2 tab. All right. Now we're about to get to it. I know what you came for. I know what you're waiting for. How do I clock in, right? How do I approve timesheets? And we're going to show you that. All right, so let's talk about timesheets now. Timesheets is right here. You see you got this little stopwatch right here. You're going to have several different views of your timesheet. When you initially click on timesheets, you'll have this summary of timesheets that you submitted. Everything that's in green has already been submitted. If it's in red, that means you have to submit it, right? So you see there's 2 weeks right here that Susie hasn't submitted her timesheet, bad Susie. So I need Susie to take care of her timesheet. When you click on this, it will take you to another view of your timesheet. And I want to use a different document to demonstrate this. So bear with me 1 second as I pull that up. But I think you might be able to take away a little bit more if we use this document here. Oop. All right. Oop, excuse me. Spare me 1 second. All right, there we go. Let me just. Perfect. All right, so let's take a look at this. We're going to zoom into a few screenshots. This right here is the E3 guide for employees. So we're going to make sure that we send this out to everyone that is attending today. It just gives you pretty much some snapshots of how to get certain things done in E3. Okay. All right. So we've already seen this screen over here. So when you click on timesheets, this is where you're going to go. I told you that you'll see timesheets you've already submitted, any ones that you haven't submitted. Once you click on the actual date or the week of your timesheet, you're going to get another view, right? So let's go up. Let me scroll up a little bit. There we go. So we'll get the day view. Let me scoot it over just a little bit. All right, there we go. And let me zoom in for you so you can see that. Ooh, gotta love this new mouse. Here we go. All right. So when you click on the week of your timesheet, there's several different views that you'll be able to see. First of all, you got your day view. So it's giving you a breakdown for those particular days of what time you clocked in or how many hours you may have entered. You're going to have your weekly view. As I scroll down, let's look at the weekly view. There we go. And I think it's just a little bit slow because my computer is using a lot of resources because I'm sharing my screen. So bear with me 1 second. Oh. Okay, here we go. All right, I wanted to show you edit timesheets. Okay. Okay, that's a little glitchy. So we're going to go back. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Bear with me, CB. All right, there we go. All right, so let me just use the video. We'll fast forward just a little bit. All right, so we already know the timesheet tab, timesheets, and you'll see the weeks that you submitted your timesheet. Let's dig a little bit deeper. As you click in, there we go. Okay, that's better. As you click in, you're going to go to the timesheet details page. Now from here now what you're seeing is an exempt employee. They're pretty much just putting in their hours. Exempt employees, you don't have to put, from 9 to 6. You'll just put the amount of hours that you worked that day. If you're a non-exempt employee, you'll see the actual hours where you punched in. And I'm gonna show you how to punch in and clock in very shortly for all my hourly folks. From here, you would just enter your time. So if I was exempt, I would just enter how many hours that I was working that week. I would make sure everything is correct. I want you to look at this because we're going to talk a little bit about mileage. So after I put in my hours, you see this little plus more button on each day. This is where I would go and I would click if I wanted to begin my mileage expense. And we're going to walk through that process, but I just want you to see where it is. So if I went to go see a client on this Tuesday, I'm gonna put in how many hours I worked that day, or if I was an hourly employee, I would have punched in and punched out. And then I'm gonna click on the plus more symbol, and then I'll be able to add my mileage for that particular day. Now, once you get all your information loaded in and everything is correct, you would simply go up to this area right here and you would click submit and affirm. And this would send your timesheet to your supervisor, your manager, to be approved. Pretty simple. And I'm going to show you how you do it on the app. And I think the app is much easier to do clock ins and clock outs. But let's talk about mileage real quick. So when I click on that plus more symbol, I'm gonna get the option to add mileage. And there's a few things that I want to do. Of course, I'm going to write down the miles that were driven. The amount per mile is already built in. It's going to show me what I'm reimbursed, and I'm going to have to add a justification comment. And then also, we want you to upload a map or a screenshot of the actual trip. Now, there's a certain way that you can do that, of course, on the phone. So there's 2 ways you can do it, but on the desktop, this is what I would suggest that you do, right? So let me give you an example. All right. All right. So let's say I was doing it from my desktop. There we go. Perfect. Say I was doing it from my desktop. The very first thing I want to do is I need to take a screenshot of this map when I map it out. So there's a tool that I want you to save to your desktop. It's called the snippet tool. You can easily find it by clicking on the magnifying glass. There we go. Let me click on my magnifying glass. You can put in snip, and there it is right there. When you see it, right click, and there'll be an option to add it to your taskbar. So you always have it over here. So you have it ready to go. All right. So from the desktop, if I was figuring out my timesheet and my mileage, let's see. First thing I need to know is what's my normal distance from my home office to my house. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in my work address. There we go. I'm stationed at Magnolia, and let me get directions. I'm gonna put in my home address. All right, there we go. And I see that it's 6 miles one way from my home to my office. So round trip is 12 miles. Got that. So I have that burnt into my head. I know what my round trip from my home to work is. And don't worry. Ooh, it's a fire truck outside. And don't worry, I don't live here anymore. This is my great grandfather's house. So I'll just never forget this address. All right. So I know how far I'm traveling. And now let me go back to the PowerPoint. All right. So I have that figured out. All right. So the miles that I drove, let's see, is 12. I think I did how many miles I did? I did about 28 today. So minus the 12, what is that? 16 miles. All right. So I put in the miles that I drove today. I'm getting paid out on this example, 58 cents per mile. So it's going to automatically figure out that I should be reimbursed $9.28. Then, of course, I'm going to put in the justification for my trip. Round trip, I went to see my client. I got my client number minus my normal commute. Then, because I took that screenshot, right? So remember, I used the snippet tool to take a screenshot of that map. I'm going to save that as a PNG file or a picture file. I'm going to choose to upload that file, but I have one more step I need to do. After I upload the file, I got to click on this button right here, which says add this file. All right, so that's how you would do the mileage on the desktop. Let's talk about the mobile app a little bit. Now, with the mobile app, some things might seem a little bit easier. I really like the mobile app because the very first thing you're going to see, of course, is the news feed. So we're going to make sure that you're up to date with anything that's going on in CB. The difference between the news feed on the app compared to the desktop is that I can interact with the news feed. So if I want to like a comment or a video or any type of information, I'll be able to do that here. I think that's pretty cool. Right, so I can interact with the actual news feed. Now, mostly of everything you're going to do is going to be right here. Let me pause right there. When you click on your profile. Now, of course, Susie is a mock people leader, so she'll see her team and other people at the top. But if you don't have any direct reports, you'll only see yourself at the top. You'll get a quick link to your timesheet. So she'll be able to input her timesheet. She'll be able to have time monitoring, so you can actually see what your team is up to. This is for my people leaders. And then as we scroll down, I like this little snapshot of my leave balances. So every time I log into the E3 app, I'm reminded of how much time I have available, any upcoming leaves, my compensation trends. Very interesting information. I don't think I've seen this in a HRIS app before. Love that. All right. So that's the first thing you're going to see when you log into the app, right on your profile. Now, with the timesheet for our exempt employees, it's very similar to the desktop. You're going to click on timesheet like I showed you on the previous page. And from here, you're just going to click on your dates and put in the hours that you worked that particular day. You notice down here, there's an add button. That's the same as the plus more button that's on the desktop. So when I want to add my mileage, I'll be able to do that from here. One best practice, and I'm sure a lot of you do this, is that if you're navigating to a client's home, I'm sure that you're most likely using your work or your personal device. As you navigate that those directions on the map, take a screenshot of it and just save it in your photos, because then you'll be able to upload that photo to your expense report that you're doing on your timesheet. So it makes it easy to do it from your mobile device or your desktop if you prefer, right? So we're just getting the habits of making sure that we're screenshotting all our trips and we'll have that really ready so we can do our expense report. All right, so this is timesheets on the app. There we go. Submit and affirm, and we'll be done. Now, I told you on the desktop, you'll be able to punch in and punch out, but on the app, it just seems a little bit easier. For my hourly staff, when you log into the app, you're going to see these two options here: hello, punch in, and goodbye, punch out. Right? So it's as simple as that. I go into my E3 app. I'm ready to punch in. I'll click that that green button, and it will notate the time. So it will actually show you the time that you punched in. So when you come back to punch out, when you punch out, it will show you the exact time that you punched out. All right, so this is the home page for punching in and punching out. So it'll look a little bit different for our hourly employees. There's another way that you can punch in too. You see this little 3-dash menu over here on the right-hand side? A lot of people call this the hamburger menu, but I call it the 3-dash menu. When you click on that, there'll be another option for you to punch in and to punch out. So it's just all over the place, the desktop. And of course, we discovered 2 different ways that you'll be able to do that in the app. So pretty simple, pretty simple. You know what? I think we need our second poll. Dragine, will you be able to pull up our second poll?
Okay, everyone. So the second question is, what information can you find on the compensation tab? So the options are check stubs, W-2 forms, or wage history.
All right. And Mimi, if you can kind of scrub up our chat and see if we have any questions. We're getting ready to come up on our Q&A segment. So any questions that you have about E3, just go ahead and lay it out in the chat. And we'll do our best to go ahead and answer those questions. All right. What info can you find on the compensation tab?
Okay, so 71% of you said wage history, 3% of you said W-2 forms, and 25% of you said check stubs. The correct answer is wage history.
There we go. Now we didn't show it, but there is a tile for paychecks. So let me show that real quick. So you see that that's there. Yeah, but you can't be mad. I would probably assume that let me go back here. There we go. I would probably assume that it would be under compensation, but compensation would just be the compensation history. All right, let me go ahead. Let me just pull up that tile real quick. And I just want to show you. There we go. So you can see that it has. All right, there we go. So you see pay stubs. There we go. It has its own separate tile. Okay. All right, very good, very good. All right, let's go ahead and share your results. All right, not bad, not bad. All right, stop sharing. And Regine, I think we got a third poll.
Yes, we do. Let me launch that.
All right.
All right, so this question, everyone, is what documents should I upload with my mileage expenses? My timesheet, screenshot of travel maps, photocopy of employee ID.
All right, good. We got 55 out of 85 people answering. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll end that poll. Oh, wait a second, hold on. I want this one to go to the end. Got about 11 more people that haven't participated. All right. I'm gonna take that 86%. So the majority of you, 93% of you said screenshot of travel map. Absolutely. A very small percentage said my timesheet. So I think your finger slipped. I think that's what happened. Yeah, but definitely the screenshot of the travel map is what you want to upload for your mileage. All right. Excellent, excellent, excellent job. All right, so that is E3. Pretty easy. I think you'll feel a lot more comfortable once you get logged in and you get to explore some of your information. But this is the time to ask any questions that you may have. All right, so what questions do you have about E3? Want to make sure that you get off this call feeling confident. This is the last of our staff trainings, so we will be sending out the recorded training very soon. You'll have access to that and you can review that. But any questions you may have for Ignacio? Let's go into the chat.
Keith, go ahead. I was going to ask yours, but go ahead and ask it, Keith.
Oh, thank you. It was in the chat. What is the difference between the California?
Keith, we can't hear you.
It's in the chat. Can you hear me now?
No.
My
Keith,
computer-
I know what you're asking. I can ask. I know what you're asking. I saw your chat. So the difference, he's asking about the difference between the California sick pay and the CB sick
I
pay.
answered it in the chat. The only difference is California sick time is what's mandated by the state of California, where CB sick time is sick time that's given to you above what is mandated by the state of California.
All right, next question. How do we print out our pay stubs in E3?
You go to the pay stub tab, and once you click on the pay stub, there'll be an option for you to print it out.
Yes.
Or you can download it.
And- Perfect. Will we need to input holiday hours like the 4th of July? That's automatically inputted, correct?
Of course.
Just double checking. And then we have a few more. So just to reiterate, Blanca, so everybody knows, this is for the screenshots for the mileage. And we are, excuse me, E3 is implementing a feature where they'll have a map in the app, but for now you will need to continue to screenshot and upload those. And then another question about how do we do time sheets for salary staff? They would just add their hours for the day.
Exactly.
And then next question, do we need to take pictures for each trip when we see multiple clients per day? Yes, but if you're doing the same trip multiple times, like let's say, you know, you go to the same client every Tuesday, you can keep that screenshot so you don't have to like keep screenshot it every time. I would save any of those trips in a folder. So that way you're not having to do it every single time. You can just re-upload those for common trips that you take. This question, I'm not sure how to answer. How do you document flex?
I don't understand the question, but if I think flex time, whether when you're coming and going, it's just clocking in and clocking out for an hourly employee. If you're a salaried employee, you just put the total hours worked for the day.
My question is about hourly employees. If you're limited to 8 hours a day, and you have to flex in and flex out to only work the 8 hours, sometimes it means clocking in and clocking out multiple times during the day.
That's fine. Yeah, that's what you would do. You would clock in and out multiple times in the day, depending on when your hours are working.
Does this system also have the clocking in and clocking out for lunch?
No, it's just clocking in and clocking out. So it makes it even easier because it doesn't distinguish between the lunches.
So it assumes the lunch time. It assumes it.
Yeah, because if you clock in the first time of the day, it assumes that the second clock out is going to be your lunch.
Well, then that makes it even more confusing if you have to flex in and out multiple times a day.
You just have to clock in or clock out, and it'll tell you if you're clocked in or if you're clocked out. So when you're returning back into work, all you have to do is click clock in. If you're leaving for that portion of the day, you just clock out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. What other
And
questions?
The last question I see, if anyone has any more, feel free to continue to add them into the chat or raise your hand, do the little raise hand. But the last question, can we start exploring E3? July 1st. So on Monday, it will go live and you'll be able to log in. That's the first time you're going to have to clock in using the new system. And then you could go in there and play around. I highly suggest you click on all the things. Ignacio's promised that we're not going to break it. So go play around. And then if you have additional questions, we will be hosting coaching hours like Melvin mentioned earlier. So we'll have just a Zoom room open. If you have a quick question, you could pop in, ask your question, and pop out. So we're not just leaving you to your own devices. We'll make sure that we help you throughout all of this implementation.
All right. All right. What was that? What is I think there's another question at the bottom.
There is, Keith, the only difference is how they're keyed in the system. They're both sick times and you can use either one. There is no difference of when to use one or the other. They're two separate buckets only because we have to separate the separate buckets by law. But if you're out sick for any reason, you can use either bucket. Doesn't matter what bucket you use from.
All right. And then Ignacio, I think there's a final question about if we work from home remotely and we don't have an office, do we put our home for starting point on mileage reimbursement? Everyone is assigned an office, correct, Ignacio?
That is correct.
Mhm.
Relook at the mileage policy and that will answer your questions on that. It's clearly stated in the mileage policy. We will be sending that out to people and it will be in E3 as well on the homepage when you get there, so you guys can all revisit the mileage policy.
There we go. And Veronice, we'll make sure we'll reach out to you if there's special circumstances. So we'll make sure we'll reach out to you so you have an understanding. All right.
And that is in the mileage policy as well, Bernice.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Okay, just to gauge, on a scale from 1 to 10, now that you've seen E3 and we've seen some of the functions, I know you have a few questions, but now that you've seen it, you're like, oh, okay, all right. On a scale of 1 to 10, and you can't pick 7, how comfortable are you now with E3? Put that in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, and you can't use 7, how comfortable are you with E3? All right. Okay. I'm getting some 8s, 9s, couple 6s, few 5s. Need to try first. I get it. I get it. Ooh, Karen gave me an 8. Love it. All right, good. Okay, so a few of you, yeah. So all my 5s and 6s, we're definitely going to reach out to you. So make sure that you just pay attention to be determined. Eric is funny. So just look in your inbox and on your calendar. We will be sending out clinic dates. So like Mimi said, you can just step into a Zoom room. It's nothing formal, and we'll be there waiting to answer your questions and just work through E3. Most likely we'll have you share your screen and we'll walk you through some of the steps so you become familiar with it. So don't worry about it, CB. We got this. We got this. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our E3 training. As a follow-up, everyone who was on this call, we're going to send you out the employee resource guide. It's very helpful walkthrough, so it'll give you a lot of screenshots and a lot of information about the different functions of E3. Please reach out to us on Teams. Anybody in the PSS team, especially CBU, will be more than ready to help you get through this learning curve as we implement E3. Don't forget, there's a couple things you need to take care of before tomorrow. Make sure you submit your timesheets on time, people, please, tomorrow. Make sure you download any documents that you want out of Paycom, performance reviews, goals, anything that you want, paycheck stubs if you want that. What are some things I'm forgetting, Ignacio?
Make sure and complete all your mileage
Yes.
through tomorrow in the Paycom system. Going forward, it will be in the new system, but any mileage from tomorrow to the beginning of the fiscal year, which was July 1st of 2022, make sure and you get all that mileage in. And remember, going forward, your mileage is going to have to be done on a per pay period basis. No more saving it up for a month, 2 months, 6 months. The mileage has to be done in the same period that it was accrued in.
All right, perfect. All right. Thank you so much, CB. We're going to stay on for another 5 minutes. If there's some questions you may want to ask because you didn't want to ask it in front of the group. Outside of that, you take care and make sure that you do something nice for someone. We'll talk to you later.